Hello and welcome back to It's Never Too Late to Date. We're the channel about dating after 60. And I am here today to talk about a really, I would say, controversial topic. And that's about dating outside of your culture. And if you've ever dated outside of your culture, and by culture I mean your race, your religion, let's look at those two because those encompass quite a bit. If you've ever dated anybody outside of your culture, please note or send me a message in the comments below. And if you've had any good experiences, bad experiences, I would love to hear about it. So we're going to talk about that today. And so just hang on. We've got a lot of opinions out there as far as who should be dating who. And we're going to talk about that in this video. Now we're going to talk about the cultural differences. And culture can include race. But I do think that within a community or within an area of the country, a lot of us have a similar culture or the same culture, and we could be of different races. And so we've got two things we want to tackle here. And I mentioned culture instead of race because I grew up in an area in the Pacific Northwest and grew up in a predominantly white area. But by the time I got into middle school, high school, it was a good mixture of people. And we all got along. It was an amazing community to grow up in. And a lot of it was because we are near a military base here. And that may not be the only reason, but that was one of the main reasons that we've got such a good cultural mix here. And whether there's prejudice or not here, it's mostly hidden. Every once in a while you would see it. But for the most part, we all grew up together and got along really well. And our culture was very much the same. And so I've dated both black and white men. And actually I am engaged, just got engaged in the last couple weeks to David. You've heard me talk about him a little bit in my other videos, but we just got engaged and we travel a lot together. We do a lot of things together. He's from California and it's just never been an issue for us. We are a lot alike in our as far as how we look at things, our spirituality, that all kind of blends together. But we both have an awesome love for music. We do like to go to concerts. And as I mentioned before, we travel a lot together. And we do things separately as well. But our cultures were very similar. So it's not been a problem for us. But if you grew up in the South, in an area where everybody stayed separate, and it was expected that you would stay separate, then you're going to have a little bit of different experience than what we've had. I do know many friends that grew up in Mississippi or in Alabama who are black friends of mine who have dated outside of their culture and are married to people of other races, and it's worked well for them as well. Any relationship you're going to have some things that you've got to deal with, but it hasn't turned out to be any more than what I hear that my friends who are with someone of the same race or the same culture, or the same race mainly is what we're talking about right now. So we've got the cultural part of it to look at, which includes race depending on where you grew up. And now another thing is, I don't know many women who have done this, but I do know of a number of men who have moved to other places around the world to meet women or have met women online and then moved to another location. And that's worked out well for them as well. It all depends on what you're looking for in a relationship. And these men in particular, they had good jobs. They made good money. But in our standards here in the US, they weren't rich by any means. But in another country, they were. And so they were able to move there, establish themselves for a lot cheaper, and were meeting people from a totally different culture. And sometimes that includes the religious part of things, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. Now, those of you that wrote at the beginning in the comments whether or not you've dated outside of your culture, mention if you get a chance, I would love to hear how you met that person that you dated outside of your culture with. Now, in my circumstance, like I mentioned, here in the Pacific Northwest, I grew up in school. I met people that I dated, and mainly the people that I dated when I was younger were schoolmates. Same thing when I went on to college. Same thing there. Went to college in the Pacific Northwest as well. Now, what I've noticed is as we get older, for me anyway, and the other people that I've talked to that have dated outside of their culture, the things that used to matter when we were younger don't matter that much anymore. Once I dated a guy when I was in college. He happened to be white. He was from, close by from where I grew up. But his parents were concerned about if we were to have kids, where would we raise them, how would people treat them, all of those things. So when you're younger, some of those things come into play. When you're older, you've established where you're going to live. You've got your friends for the most part. You go usually to the same places, and you're traveling all over the place. At least in my case, we are. So you're not concerned about raising kids and concerned about how other people will treat them. So you've got a wider net to cast when it comes to finding companions later in life. And I love that about being this age and dating at this age. And I think a lot of people that have made comments on some of my videos are, in a lot of ways, very narrow-minded, but probably because it's something that they've heard all of their life. And when you've got beliefs that you've grown up with, it's hard to change those. You're always concerned about what other people are going to think. You've developed those beliefs because of what other people have said, and you've never really taken the time to think about, so why is it that I don't date somebody out of my culture? Do I think they're bad people? Do I not think I would get along? Or am I just not attracted to somebody from another culture? And that last thing that I mentioned, if you're not attracted to somebody in another culture, then there's not much you can change about that. That's just like you're attracted to certain things in different people. If you're not attracted to somebody in another culture, then by all means, you want to stick to who you're attracted to. But sometimes, because of how we're raised and how we're trained, we don't even look outside to see whether or not you'd be attracted to somebody in a different culture. And a lot of times, if you open your eyes and not just go out looking, but as you're meeting people, I'm sure that anybody that's been in places where there's a mixture of cultures all together, or a mixture of races all together, you've met people who you've thought, that was a really nice person. They'd be a great friend. We had a connection. So for some reason, there was a connection there. They're nothing like you would ever think that you was somebody that you'd be attracted to. So, like I said, I love this time in life because you've got options. If you're out there and you're out and about, you've got a lot more options than when you were younger and you had someone else telling you what's right, what's wrong, who you could date, who you can't date. And even though a lot of my friends were, rebellious or did just the opposite of what their parents asked, a lot of kids didn't. And so we're in a period in our lives where we can make different choices, or at least try some new things. And if it doesn't work and you find that there's too many obstacles, then great. Then go back to what you know, and just know that your pool of people, or the fish that you have to pick from, is what I call it, fish in the sea, are going to be a little less than if you were to be a little bit more open-minded. Now, one thing I've noticed is that I have learned so much about other cultures just through my dating experience. Also, I have a brother. He is married to a Chinese woman. And they have a son. He's my nephew. I have a daughter whose husband is half black and half Filipino. I have a daughter whose husband is white. And when we get together as a big family, it's amazing. There's so many different things that everybody brings to the table or brings to the group that's enriching. And I think that our kids grow up more accepting of other people when they can see that it's okay to have a little mixture when it comes to relationships. And some people just can't get past it. And I'm not trying to tell you that you have to change how you see things. But if it's ever come to your mind and you've thought about it, I would say just and explore it. See what you can find from just getting to know some people as friends, and then you never know where it's going to go from there. And we're too old to be stuck in our ways. I mean, we are stuck in our ways because we're old, but I do think that as you get older, it's like, why not? Why not try something new? And I've only got so many years left. Might as well enjoy it and explore some new things. Religion. And I do know a number of people who are married to or dating someone of a different religion. And if you think about it, even inside the Christian religion, there are Baptist, Lutheran, Methodist, all with little differences that a lot of times we can hang on to that keep us from just branching out and getting to know people or accepting people because they may not believe exactly what you believe. And I know people who are Jewish that are with somebody who is not really involved that much with any religion, but they've adopted the Jewish ways. Same thing with Muslim. There's just so many differences. Now, if you are a strong person with strong beliefs in your religion, then you're probably not going to be one of the people that goes outside of your religion, especially if you meet somebody else on the other side that's very strong in their beliefs as well. There's a lot of clashes. There's a lot of historical battles that have gone on between different religious groups, and sometimes that's hard to let go because and the sad part is, even though you're from two different religions, you could live together, but a lot of times the respect isn't there, and that's what it's all about. If you respect what the other person believes, then and you respect each other, you can pretty much surmount anything. But if the respect isn't there, and one's talking bad about the other type of religion, the other back and forth, then there's no way it's going to work. And so culture, as far as religion goes, that's definitely a talk you would have to have with the person that you meet, somebody that you're interested in. Now, I also looked at a study recently that when it comes to churchgoers or people who of Christian religion, that a majority of women are the ones that go to church and really invest in their faith. And the men don't always do that. Sometimes they do, but there's more men who stay home. And so, and those relationships still seem to work. I know that the wife would love for the husband to go to church with him, or if it's vice versa, and the man goes and the wife doesn't. But you can still have a solid, healthy relationship, even if both people don't agree as far as their attendance to church. But when you sit down to determine if you're going to date or not, first of all, and then find out what are my main things that I'm going to hold on to, and figure out why you're going to hold on to it. And if it's a deep conviction, then don't go outside of that. But if it's just, I decided this because my parents told me that's what I was supposed to do, and I've thought that my whole life, and I've never changed it, but you really don't have a solid core reason why, then you may want to take that off of your list of nots, of don'ts. So, and in my other one video that I just passed away is about throwing away your list. And same thing goes here. If culture is not something that's big on your list of things that, or your core about what you're looking for is somebody that's similar culture as you, then when you do go out on a date, then you may notice some things, but you're going to be more open to explore things about other people. And when you do that, I think you're going to find that we are all more alike than you think. If you have any comments or questions about this video, please feel free to make a comment, and please like and subscribe. I look forward to your stories and everything that you've experienced along this subject.